Kriti, connect the dots here for us between the jobs report and President Biden's stimulus plan, that $1.9 trillion ambitious plan, and the market action as well. Because when I look at the stock market, it's not like you really saw it take a dive on these disappointing numbers.
They didn't, actually. In fact, they had very little reaction at all. And that's why some of this bad news in the labor market, this idea that maybe this jobs recovery isn't happening at the pace that we want it. Well, that's actually good news for some of the folks that are vouching for more stimulus. The Democrats in particular, this is a scenario where bad news is bolstering the case for good news in stimulus. And you're actually seeing that in the market manifest in small caps in particular. If you look at a 6-month chart of the Russell 2000, which is the index that really houses some of those companies, you can see that since the summer, really, for the last 6 months, you are starting to see this built up optimism in the market that eventually a massive stimulus package like the one that you just mentioned, $1.9 trillion, will help those companies first. And that's really something that they're pricing in ahead of time.
And I think that's really important what you just said about how bad news is sometimes good news, at least in the market's interpretation. You have disappointing economic data, but instead of being despondent over it, people are thinking, yes, that really pushes the case for why the government, why the Federal Reserve needs to push ahead with more money spent to bolster the economy. And therefore, that's why we should be pushing stocks higher. So when we dig into that $1.9 trillion plan that Biden is proposing, where does all that money go? How does it shake out?
Well, there's a lot of different components to the bill, but Scarlett, I want to highlight a few of them. The first is state and local aid. $350 billion are dedicated to that. That's something Democrats were really pushing for even before they got that congressional majority. Some other places they're going to, $15 billion to small business aid. Weekly unemployment aid is increased to $400 a week from $300 previously. That $100, Scarlett, can make quite the difference for a lot of families. And then, of course, I do want to mention those $1,400 stimulus checks. That's an amount that Joe Biden has really dug his heels on. Now, of course, we have that money going to several other places as well, but those 4 components are the pretty big chunks of it.
Yeah, $1,400, notably much bigger than what the government passed in December, but nowhere close to the original $2,000 that had been floated by, of all people, President Trump. There was also $20 billion set aside for vaccine and testing funding, and also $25 billion for rental assistance.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.